What up, everybody, and welcome to Baz on Blades. My name is Baz, and I talk about blades. And today, I would like to take a few minutes to address an issue that I've seen here recently within the YouTube firearms reviewer community. And I never thought I would consider myself part of that community, and I don't consider myself to be a major part of that community for sure, since I've only done a few firearms videos and I mostly do knife related stuff. But recently, while preparing for my in-depth tabletop review of the Taurus G3, I watched a lot of other reviews. That is something I typically do not do with knives, but with firearms. Admittingly, I am not an expert and I want to learn more about firearms. I thought a good way of doing that would be to watch other G3 videos. I can learn about firearms and just watch the G3 stuff for the enjoyment of it, since I am enjoying the pistol so much. And you know what? Knock out two birds with one stone. Now, I noticed something in these reviews. Every review that I watched, from the big channels with millions of views all the way down to the small channels smaller than my channel, every review that I watched, this is pretty much the way the review went. We got this Taurus G3, took it out to the range, shot this thing. The trigger is actually good. It's accurate. I shot it better than the other firearms that I had with me. I shoot it better than my Glock. I shoot it better than my whatever. But in the end, can you trust a Taurus pistol? They can't be that good. They're so much cheaper. They've got to cut corners somewhere. They're going to explode. You're going to lose your hand. It's going to put your eye out. Okay, that's pretty much how these reviews go. And I keep hearing these guys they're supposed to be firearms experts. They've got millions of views and hundreds of videos, and manufacturers send them T&E guns, and they've just got all of this stuff going. They're experts, and they are literally, all of them are doing the same thing. They are using past instances of Taurus semi-auto pistols that had issues in the past. Okay, they're not talking about the firearm that they are reviewing. In this case, the Taurus G3. They're not talking about the firearm they're reviewing when they make statements as to quality, because the entire review they just did, none of them have any issues at all. Sure, some of them may not like the trigger pull because it's a little long due to the restrike capability. Some of them may not like a manual safety, but those are not quality issues. What they are saying is, I just shot this gun 1,000 rounds or more. It never failed. It never had any failures of any type, but it's a Taurus, and you can't trust a Taurus because they're cheap crap. Well, I want to know what evidence they have to back that up. I want to know what experience they have in life to back up that opinion. And I started thinking about that. You know what? This firearm was less than $300. A lot of other polymer frame striker fire pistols are in the $500 or $600 range. Why are those pistols more expensive? Is it materials? Is it build quality? Is it research and development? Is it advertising cost? And you know what? It's all of those things to a varying degree. It's all on a sliding scale. what I want to look at here in this video, I have an array of polymer frame striker fired pistols here, and we are going to take a quick look at how they are manufactured. We're going to take the pistols apart. We're going to look at the frames, the polymer frames. We're going to take a look at the slides. We're going to take a look at the small parts in them, and I'm going to voice some opinions. Now, I am not basing my opinions on what other reviewers say. I am basing my opinions on personal experience because, dun dun dun, Baz on Blades does have some personal experience in both steel stamping, which is how all those little steel internal parts are made, and plastic injection molding, which is how the frames are made. I do have a background in manufacturing in both of those fields. We're going to take a look at this pistol. Now, we've got the Taurus G3 here. I also have a Taurus G2C. We'll go ahead and we will clear these firearms. What else do we have? We've got my old school XD Tactical here. Also clear. Let's see what else we've got. We've got Dan the Man's Glock 35 here. Also empty. And then for a small representative, we have got my Ruger LC9S Pro, which is also empty. All right, all of these firearms are name brands. All of them are widely purchased and accepted out in the marketplace. They all have generally the same exact construction and materials. Now, I keep hearing that Taurus is using inferior materials, and that's how they're doing it so cheap. And to that I say, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? These firearms, all of them, regardless of country of origin, regardless of the company name stamped on them, they are made out of the same materials. This pistol is a forged steel slide. It's got a steel barrel. It's got stamped steel small parts in it. It's got an injection molded glass reinforced polymer frame here. Let's take a look at the next one. Let's take a look at this Glock. It's got a forged steel slide. It's got a steel barrel. It's got stamped steel small parts on the inside of it. It has an injection molded fiber reinforced polymer frame. The same thing. What about this XD? It's got to be different. No. It's got a forged steel slide. It's got a steel barrel. It's got stamped steel small parts. It's got fiber reinforced polymer frame. Let's go here to the G3. Do I really need to repeat myself? It's the same thing. Okay? And then the G2C, again, the same thing. But Baz on Blades, they aren't using as good a material in that $200 pistol as Glock is in this $600 pistol. This pistol costs 3 times as much as this one. It's the same materials, guys. Let me ask you, how much do you know about steel? Well, these slides are machined from carbon steel, unless you just happen to have a firearm that has a stainless steel slide on it. Let's go ahead and we're going to pull that slide off, set the Glocky-Do aside. I'm going to set this slide right here. We will pull the let's go ahead and pull this XD here. We'll pull the slide off of the XD, and we will pull the slide off of the G3 here, cheat it back, and pull that slide off. Now, you tell me what the difference is in those slides. Now, I'm gonna give a few minutes. Go ahead and get all of your friends that are experts. We'll get them in here, and you tell me what the difference is in those slides. I'm not exactly sure what you're getting at, Baz on Blades. Well, the thing is, you can't tell the difference. You can't tell if this Taurus has got inferior steel in it compared to the XD or compared to the Glock. You can't tell that. None, not one, absolutely zero, literally none of the reviews that you see that say things like that have any data to back that up. The truth is, these slides are forged and machined from carbon steel. I don't know how many weapons grades carbon steels there are out there, but there are probably dozens that have been used for the last 100 years all around the world in order to make firearms. As far as these carbon steels go, within a certain level of performance and quality, there's 6 of one and half a dozen of another. Okay? That's just the way it is. I've dealt with steel quite a bit in my life, and it's in this instance. I mean, what does it have to be? What has to be special about that steel to make up a 3 times cost difference? That is a 200% increase over the cost of the Taurus as far as the Glock goes. Is that steel 3 times as good? Probably not. Is the machining 3 times as good? Well, let's get up here close and I mean, you might nitpick some things, but I'm not seeing quality issues. I see differences in design. I see differences in tooling, programming. I don't see any obvious inferiority or superiority. I just see differences. Yet, every time you watch a Taurus video, somebody says something about that gun they just fired 1,000 rounds through with no failures, but it's a Taurus. It could explode any second now. I think we're seeing right here that they're pretty much the same thing. Yeah, recoil spring assemblies might be a little bit different, or barrels might be set up a little bit different. They even may use a different type of carbon steel in these slides. I don't know that. You don't know that. None of the manufacturers, as far as I know, ever tell you what steels they're using, because they have a group of steels that they choose from. They do it cost-based. It depends on what the market is bearing, what supply is available. They have pre-qualifiers as far as the performance levels of the steel that they want, and steels that meet it. They're not any of them probably stuck into just one specific steel forever. It's eternally what they're going to use. I don't even know that. Do you? Do any of those reviewers even know that? I I don't know. I don't know. I've watched an awful lot of videos and I've heard these guys say all of this stuff, and none of them has ever shown one iota of data to back up what they're saying. Now, if you want to say, well, Baz on Blades, Taurus did have problems with semi-automatic pistols in the past. I will agree with you, and I wouldn't buy any of those pistols. I wouldn't. I wouldn't recommend that anybody else buy them. They were proven to be troublesome. But the new Taurus G3 and G2C have proven to be well-running, low maintenance, low return rate firearms. I've talked to different firearms dealers. They're not reporting that they're getting a lot of returns on these. In fact, majority of them have never had any of them return. It's a piece of equipment, guys. There's duds that make it through with all of them. Taurus can have a bad pistol, or Springfield can have a bad pistol, or Glock can have a bad pistol, and Glock may have a reputation for being more consistent. They have fewer bad pistols, but those reputations are seldom based on any data at all. And everybody is out there listening to these guys that are reviewing these pistols, that are saying these things. I have seen comparison videos between the Taurus G3 and the Glock 19, and the Taurus smokes the Glock in every respect. Every respect, except people usually say that the finish is not as good on the slide, which it may or may not be. I've not had any wear issues with mine. They will usually say something about that, and that could be true. And then the next thing they're going to say is, even though the Taurus outperformed the Glock or whatever they're comparing it to, they would still take that other brand because of the issues that Taurus had in the past. Not issues with the firearm they have in front of them. If you walk outside and you get wet from rain falling out of the sky, if you say to somebody, hey, it's raining outside, and they say, oh, no, it's not, it's a figment of your imagination. What's going on there? What's going on there? That's the same thing that's going on here. If somebody runs 1,000 rounds through a pistol with no issue at all, and then comes back and says, but it's a Taurus, and they all explode, you know what? I'm not really, at that point, I'm like, does this person actually know what they're talking about? Do they know what they're talking about? Sure, they've shot a lot of firearms on videos, but do they know what they're talking about? Are they just repeating something they've heard somebody else say? Have they actually had a bad experience with this firearm? Having a bad Taurus semi-auto 20 years ago does not mean a damn thing as far as their current production pistols go. Now, let's set these slides apart, or aside, or asunder, or whatever, and we're going to pull in the frame sections here. And we've got, there is the XD, and here is the Glock. And what you see here is fiber reinforced plastics. I don't know if they're the same plastics, and I don't care, because just like the steel in the slide, these manufacturers have a certain performance range that these materials have to meet or exceed in that performance. If it is a material that works in there, the next thing they're going to do is they're going to make their decisions based on cost. That's just the way you do business. Anybody that says different, anybody that says Glock is going to use a material that's totally equal in every way to everything else, but is more expensive, that's crazy. Glock's not going to do that. None of these companies are going to just spend money on materials just because of a perceived increase in value of the material just because of cost. That's just not the way you do business. Let's take a look at this Glock. What do you see when you look inside this Glock? I'll tell you what I see. I see a bunch of stamped steel, and I have stamped literally millions of pieces of steel, guys. For 10 years, I did nothing but stamp steel. I have stamped small components like this on high-speed presses in the hundreds of thousands per week, guys. There's something I need to tell all these experts. I don't care what you think you know. You cannot look in this pistol and look in this pistol and go, oh yeah, that's way over here. That's way higher quality parts. Yeah, see, these are going to break. I can tell just by looking at it. These are way better because they're stamped steel with a black oxide coating, not like these stamped steel with a black oxide coating parts. And again, what steels are they stamping these parts from? Well, there are competitive steel options. That's just the way manufacturing is done. Especially in a polymer frame striker fired pistol. They're not going out there and hunting down the most exclusive and most expensive materials to make these. They want to make them in bulk as cheap as they can with as big a profit margin as they can. That is how you do business. But if you listen to the YouTube reviewers, they are all of them, every one of them. I don't care how positive they reviewed the G3, always in the video there is something they say. It's basically, it's a Taurus, it's gonna blow up sometime. You know, guys, I just finished with the review for this G3. And I was going to put 1,000 rounds through it, even though I think that 1,000 rounds as far as a break-in period is utterly ridiculous. It is not supported by any manufacturer. There is no manufacturer, as far as I know, that recommends 1,000 rounds through it for a break-in period. I just don't believe in that. That's just a YouTube thing. It's a YouTube thing. That number didn't even exist a few years ago as far as doing that type of thing. Oh, good gracious. Baz on Blades, you should drop the magazine out of those at least. It would make it a little bit easier. Well, that's not the hard part, guys. The hard part is I'm having to reach around a doggone camera mount to do this stuff. And at least this XD and this Glock, these are huge pistols, guys. They are so big, and they've got the lights on them and everything. Now, there are things that you can look at in these products that will tell you a quality level of the product. The machining. How clean is the machining? And before you start passing judgment on that, how much do you know about machining? I'm not a machining expert, although I've worked around it for years and years and years. I've run some simple CNC machining equipment. I've worked with tool and die departments that are continuously doing machining. I've seen professional machining. I've seen aerospace grade machining. I've seen custom CNC machining in the knife world. I've interacted with it and got a little bit of experience with it. And I'm not seeing bad machining marks or botched cuts or anything like that on this Taurus. The same as I don't see it on this XD, and I don't see it on this Glock. I'm not seeing anything as far as machining that really sticks out. In fact, if you take away the difference in the coatings, every one of these slides could have been machined in the same facility. That's how close in quality they are. Well, what about the frame, Baz on Blades? Well, you take a look at these frames. A very important aspect in these frames is the design of them. And there's so many different things that we can take into account with design, but I'm going to focus on some structural rigidity. If you get a polymer frame firearm, I tell you what, go down to your local firearm store and get 4 different polymer frame firearms from 4 different manufacturers sitting up on the counter and do this. Go pop the magazine out, come down here to the magazine wheel and squeeze on it, okay? Squeeze this way. See what sort of deflection you can get. See how much sidewall stiffness that molding has. Grip it. Squeeze it as hard as you can. Feel it flex in your hand. You're looking for structural rigidity is what you're looking for. Let's do this. Let's pull the slide off of it. Pull the slide off of it. Go down here to the dust cover and squeeze that in. Okay. Twist it. Twist the frame a little bit in your hand. Feel that. Feel how stiff it is. That's the important thing on these frames. And again, I'm not feeling, other than some design differences as far as the quality between all of these polymer framed pistols, I'm not feeling a big difference in them. We've already established you have no idea what the plastic is. You cannot say whether it's as high quality or not. You just don't know. Okay, none of us know these things. You have to take an honest look at how it's manufactured and the quality of the individual part rather than just saying this is of a certain quality and this is of a certain quality. Because I got to tell you guys, I'm not seeing any big differences there. I'm seeing fiber reinforced plastics, machined carbon steels, stamped carbon steel parts, all of it between every firearm that I've got out here. This American-made Ruger. We've got Brazilian-made Tauruses here. We've got Croatian-made XD here. We've got Austrian-made Glock here. I'm not seeing really any weaknesses in the manufacturing of any of these pistols, regardless of the brand. And at the same time, I'm not seeing any one of them really has a leg up on any of the others. I'm not seeing that at all. I don't see a quality difference in these firearms, regardless of your name brand affiliations or loyalties. I challenge anybody to show me on these firearms where it is they're lower quality. Where is it that they're lower? Where is it that this Taurus that's made exactly the same as this Glock, probably out of extremely familiar competitive materials, Where are you seeing the quality difference? If you are saying, well, the finish on the slide of the Taurus isn't as good as on the Glock, I'm going to say, well, the Glock cost 3 times as much. It's a $600 gun versus a $200 gun. Okay, there are going to be some areas that may not perform as well, but it's not because it's a lower quality. It is because that's what you can do in that price point. Let's do this. Let's go and buy a car. I'll go to the Lamborghini dealership and spend $400,000, and you go to the Hyundai dealership and spend $14,000 and see what you get. 2 serviceable cars, probably both of decent quality at extremely different price points, and guess what? There's gonna be decisions that are made on both of them that are different. My beef is all of these people talking about these quality issues. They have no way to gauge these they're just making these issues up. It doesn't matter how many Tauruses you had in the past that were bad. If this one's not bad, it's not bad. You can't say, hey, this is not bad, but it's a Taurus, so it's going to blow up any second. That's it's not reality. It's not reality. So anyway, I hope this opens up you guys' eyes to take an honest look at this stuff. Sure, if something's cheap crap, it's cheap crap. But just because something is less expensive doesn't mean it's crap. Just because something is more expensive doesn't mean that it's quality. As always, thank you for taking the time to watch one of my videos. God bless all of you, and we will talk to you again.